everybody, my name is Mars, you can call me MG if you would like, and today I am starting my vlog for the Honeybee Society Book Club's November and December pick. I know that I have a very crazy holiday season ahead of me. I've got so much planned that I will not be able to fit this in then, so I'm getting it in early. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the Honeybee Society Book Club is my book club where we read one dark academia book every 2 months. The pick for November and December is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, so this is what I will be reading in this vlog. I am going to be completely honest, I don't have the highest hopes for this. I have been learning over the past year-ish that thrillers just aren't really my thing. I don't find them particularly thrilling or engaging if the ones that I've picked up this year are anything to go by, and in fact, I am just coming off of DNFing a thriller, so I will say the one that I just DNF'd, it's not because it was bad or anything, it was honestly one of the more promising ones out of all of the thrillers that I've picked up this year. It was just like, I could put it down and never pick it up again and not feel any type of way about that, so about 60-ish% in, I was like, very bored, so I looked up a spoiler explanation of what was gonna happen, and none of it seemed interesting enough to keep me going, and that's why I DNF'd it. So that one was a little bit of an outlier, but yeah, thrillers and I have not been getting along lately. So we're gonna see how this goes. I'm not gonna DNF this though, because it is my book club pick. I am committed to getting through it, and we'll see how that plays out for me. If you did not see my vlog for our first pick for the book club, that was The Secret History for September and October, I will leave a link down below for that because boy was that a time. Yeah, this is not super long. How many pages is it? It is 333 pages, so hopefully it doesn't take me forever to read, but yeah, I do know that it is split into 6 parts, so I think what I'm going to do is come back and update you after I've read each part. And this will be full of spoilers, so if that's not your thing, maybe don't watch this vlog, but I feel like that's going to be the best way for me to fully explain my thoughts as I read this. So I'm gonna crack into it and let you know when I finish part 1. Alright, friends, I have finished part 1, which was longer than expected. I feel like I'm already about a quarter of the way into the book, and I don't know how I feel about this. It's not terrible. I am feeling a little bit drawn into the mystery of it, but I'm not invested in it. I'm just kind of curious about it. One thing I will say is that despite these chapters being so short, the first part is 20 chapters long and they probably average 4 pages each, they are so short and yet so wordy. I feel like we get so much, not info dump, but background and history. So our main character is Mariana. She is a group therapist who is currently dealing with a very insurmountable grief after having lost her husband, the love of her life. He passed a little over a year prior to the start of the story, and she's still very much living in that grief. She gets a call from Zoe, her niece. She is the daughter of her sister, but her sister and her sister's husband had died in an accident at some point when Zoe was a teenager, so Mariana is Zoe's guardian. But they don't have the kind of relationship I feel like that would foster. It does still feel very distant, which I'm curious to see if we get more insight into that. But Zoe calls her up and it's just if you look at the news, there's this dead body that was found on my college campus. She goes to Cambridge. She's like, I think it's my friend. Can you come here? And Zoe's like, yeah, I will be there in the morning, because it was almost midnight when she called. She's like, yeah, I will get there as soon as I can. And Zoe is right. it does end up being her friend. But there's like some weird things happening where Zoe is very obviously not telling Mariana or the police everything. She is convinced that this professor is the one who did it, but the police are like, oh, he's got an alibi, like he seems not involved in this, but like there's this guy that your friend was involved with that seems like he like is a much better like fit for who we're looking for that committed this crime. And Mariana is like fully on Zoe's side. Like she's like, no, I believe my niece, so I'm gonna like do this investigation on my own outside of like the police stuff happening. But she's also still dealing with this grief. She has not been to Cambridge since her husband died, and that is where they had met, so it's a place with a lot of history for the two of them. So there's just like lingering ghost of Sebastian, her dead husband, kind of everywhere. And I don't want to sound harsh because losing the love of your life, I would assume, is a very terrible experience. Like, it will do irreparable things to your mental health. But Mariana kind of feels like melodramatic about it. Like, the way she's reacting to things feels very, oh, woe is me. And something about that feels off to me. I don't know. But this is intriguing. It is a fast read, which I very much appreciate. That's something that I do appreciate about thrillers, is that they tend to be fast reads, even if I'm not super into them. But I will now move on, I suppose, to part two. Not at the moment. I actually have to get ready for work, and I'm working 3 to 10 today, so I will maybe do a little bit of reading when I get home before I get into bed, but not a ton. So I will not have another update for you until tomorrow, so I will see you when I do finish part two. Good morning, friends. Happy Sunday. I've got an update on the Maidens because I'm now just under halfway through because I finished part 2 and it was also very long. So the first half of the book is only 2 parts, the second half is 4 parts. Sure, everything doesn't have to be even, I guess. I just prefer things to be even, but it's fine. I ended up actually getting the ebook copy through Libby because there was one copy available and I was able to read quite a good chunk on my break at work last night. So that is how I've gotten through more of this in the time that I have. And I am definitely enjoying this more than I enjoyed the thriller I just DNF'd, but I still wouldn't say I'm 100% invested in it. I think the writing style is definitely helping. The fact that it is very fast-paced despite being so informative. Like, we are getting a lot of information, but it's not super heavy and like bogging the story down. The characters are still really weird. Like, no one is acting like a regular human being, I feel. And it's an interesting choice. I didn't even tell you about Fred, who is this guy that Mariana met on the train to Cambridge, and he claims to be a little bit psychic, and that's why he sometimes says things that are like a little bit weird. Like, he mentioned, like, he learns that she's from Greece, and he's like, oh, like, have you been to any like the islands, like Naxos maybe? And she like immediately freaks out because that's the island where her husband died. And he's like, geez, I'm sorry, like, I told you I'm a little bit psychic, maybe that's why that's the name of the island that came to me and not like one of the other Greek islands. And there's just a couple of moments like that, but she is like kind of working with him to solve this mystery because the police have kind of like already given up and like decided on who their man is. But I don't know. He also said like he had a psychic vision of him asking Mariana to marry him and she said yes. So a little bit weird. Also strange that he said that to her in their very first conversation on the train. Didn't like that. But we have met a few more characters. So Zoe's friend who had been murdered was part of this group called the Maidens, and they are an all-female group of Professor Fosca. Is that his last name? Maybe? The professor's, like, elite students, and they're all very beautiful young women, and they're all from influential families. So, Tara, the one who got murdered, she was the daughter of a Scottish lord. There's the daughter of a senator, the daughter of someone from, oh, I don't remember his position, but someone like high in the Indian government, like that sort of thing. And they're all very secretive and reclusive. So we do have that element. I love a secret society in a book. Then, right at the end of this part, Zoe calls Mariana and is like freaking out again because someone else has been murdered. And my theory is that it's going to be another one of the maidens. That's what I think has happened. Also, I also didn't mention there are chapters scattered throughout. We've only had, I think, 3 so far, but they are in first person instead of third person like the main story. But these first person chapters are from the killer's perspective, talking about how like sick and twisted and evil they are, and like they wonder if maybe it would have been better if they'd never been born and all that. So I do have a theory on who the killer really is, but I'm not going to share it yet because I like to keep my options open. So we are led to believe that it is this professor because the police don't think it's him, but Tara thinks it is. Not Tara. Zoe thinks it is, and like all this. I think it's someone else, not the boyfriend or whoever, not the professor, but I will let you know maybe in my next update, I think, because I want to get a little bit more evidence, because right now it's kind of just a hunch based on what I know of how stories go. But yeah, I am surprised by how much I am enjoying this. I'm definitely not loving it by any means, but I am having a pleasant experience reading it. So yeah, I am actually going to be going into the city today. My boyfriend's got an appointment someplace to do things, and we're just gonna kind of wander around a little bit besides that. And I might get some reading done on the bus, but I'm not really sure. I haven't read in a moving vehicle in a very long time, so I don't know if I'm gonna get like car sick or something, but I will give it a shot because I do actually want to continue reading this. I feel like I might be able to finish it today, but also I don't want to hold myself to that. But like, I'm definitely gonna finish it very quickly when I do have time to read it. So yeah, I will, I guess, see you when I finish part 3. Hello, friends. It is 5:15, and I have just returned from my day in the city with my boyfriend. So we took the bus in, grabbed some drinks. He got a coffee. I got a chai latte because I love chai lattes, and this one was actually really good. I'm very happy with the choice of cafe that we made. And then we headed to a bookstore, and I bought books. Do I need to add more books to my collection? No. Am I gonna stop myself? Also no, because I do have a bit of a problem, but it could be so much worse. Everything's fine. So yeah, the first place we stopped at was this place called Giovanni's Room, which is a used bookstore run by the people at Philly AIDS Thrift, which we went to afterwards, and I also bought books there. But first we stopped at Giovanni's Room, and I got 2 books. The first one being The Fury by Alex Michaelides, which is the author of The Maidens, which I'm reading for this vlog. And I figured I am enjoying The Maidens enough, like surprisingly enough, that I would read more from this author. At least at this point in time, I really could have waited until I finished The Maidens to see how I really felt about it, but I figured it was $5. I might as well get it and give it a shot. I did read the Dust Jacket blurb, but I don't remember much about it except a private Greek island and a murder. I don't know, I'll give it a shot. The other book that I got from this first place we went is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte in this really cool edition. I really like the artwork on it. The one issue is that there are deckled edges, which I don't enjoy, but It's fine. I really enjoy Wuthering Heights, and I did used to have a copy, but the copy I had was in a bind-up with Jane Eyre, and I really enjoy both novels and would like to reread both novels, but it was such a bulky bind-up of the two that I wouldn't want to read it from that edition, so I got rid of it, and now I have Wuthering Heights again. And I wonder if they have Jane Eyre in this same edition, because I think that would be really cool. Does it say? It says Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition. That's really cool. I really hope they have Jane Eyre, because that'd be nice together on the shelf. But yeah, that is what I got from the first place we went. Then we hopped over to Philly AIDS Thrift, which does have a good book selection, but they also just have a lot of things there. It's just a general thrift store. And I got 4 books there. They were each only $1 though, so it's fine. I picked up Blood of Elves by Andrzej Sapkowski, the first full-length novel in the Witcher series. I have not yet read The Last Wish. Is that what it's called? I think it's called The Last Wish, which is the short story collection that takes place before this first novel. But it's on my TBR for the month. You will see it in an upcoming vlog. And I actually think that might be the next book I pick up after The Maidens. I might start that vlog. But it is in the mass market paperback edition that I have The Last Wish in, and I have very strong faith that I will enjoy it, so I figured for $1 I will pick up this so that I can continue on with the series. I also picked up The Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson. This is book 3 in the Wax and Wayne series, which is the second era of Mistborn, and my personal favorite Brandon Sanderson series. Granted, I've only read the 2 Mistborn eras, but I do enjoy the second one more, and I would actually say that Wax and Wayne might be one of my favorite series of all time, like top 5 for sure. And I only own the first one, but I collect Brandon Sanderson in these mass market paperback editions, so I saw it and I was like, yeah, you're coming home with me. I don't own the second one of this series, I only own the first one, so I am skipping a book over, but it's fine. I have faith that I will find it in a thrift store at some point in time. I mean, I found this one, I found all my other Brandon Sanderson in thrift stores. It's gonna happen. I also picked up The High King by Lloyd Alexander. This is the 5th and final book in the Chronicles of Prydain. I own the first one in this edition and I really enjoy it, so I want to collect the rest of the series in this edition, and I'm making progress in doing that. And then the last book that I picked up is genuinely a shock to find this, but it is Mislaid in Parts Half Known by Seanan McGuire. This is part of the Wayward Children series, and I think it's book like 8 or 9 or even 10 in it. Like, it's way later in the series. I've only read the first 4, but these are so expensive. Like, they're novellas, but they're like 20 something dollars each, and that's not a price I'm willing to pay for a novella, even in a series that I love as much as this one. Like, I've read the first 4 books and absolutely adored all 4 of them, so I know I'm gonna love the rest of the series, but I don't want to spend that much money, even though I'd really love to own them. So finding this for $1, genuinely one of the best deals I think I could have gotten, and it's in really good condition. Like, it's great. So I am glad to have this, even though I won't be getting to it probably anytime soon because I have several more to read before I get to this one. I'm very intrigued about the dinosaur on the cover, though. So those are the books that I bought. We did end up going to a third bookstore, so after we visited Philly AIDS Thrift, we went, had lunch at this cute little Middle Eastern cafe. I had a delicious mushroom something. It was like a pastry, kind of, with mushrooms. Amazing. Also, the pomegranate lemonade they had, delicious. And then my boyfriend had his appointment, and I was reading my book during that appointment because what else am I going to do while I'm waiting for him? And then we did hit up another bookstore afterwards, but I didn't end up buying anything there. I showed a little bit of self-restraint. But I did finish part 3 of The Maidens. Let me hold it up, even though I don't have the dust jacket on it, just so you know I'm talking about it. But part 3, I was correct. The second murder was of another one of the maidens, and I am more sure of my theory now. So the book is really trying to push you into thinking that this Professor Fosca is the murderer. We get to see more of him. Mariana has these conversations, which I didn't mention. I forgot, but she does meet with him at some point in part 2, and he like kisses her right before he leaves, which is so weird. I feel like some weirdness in this novel is surrounding the fact that all of these men just seem so obsessed with Mariana out of nowhere. Like Professor Fosca is like weird about her and like just kissed her and then left. There's the guy Fred who had the psychic vision of asking her to marry him for some reason. There's this other guy, Julian, who was a classmate of hers and he's working with the police. And he also like keeps asking her out for like drinks and stuff. And it's like, I don't know. I don't enjoy that aspect of it. It just feels a little bit over the top. But she does meet with Professor Fosca a couple of times and learns more about him, and some things we learn about him line up with things we know about the killer from those first person point of view sections that we get from the killer's point of view. And like she's more convinced than ever that it is Professor Fosca who is doing these killings, but Zoe is now like taking a sharp turn in the other direction. She's like, no, he's got an alibi, and I really don't think it's him. Like, completely changing her tune on everything because she was the one who put Professor Fosca in like under scrutiny in the first place. My theory, which I will now share with you, is that it's Zoe. I think she's the killer because we also get some conversations between her and Mariana about Sebastian, Mariana's dead husband. And so Mariana and Sebastian kind of raised Zoe. Like, she was at boarding school most of the time, but like they were her guardians from a young age. I think she was like 10 to 12 years old when her parents died, maybe. Like, she wasn't super young, but she was still a kid. And they became, well, Mariana became her legal guardian. And uh, through these conversations, you learn that Zoe was closer to Sebastian. She always had like a close relationship with him. And I think there was something weird going on with that. Even if like Sebastian didn't act weird and like gross with her, I feel like from Zoe's end, there was a lot of uh, emotional baggage that she dealt with in the form of maybe an obsession with Sebastian. And then when he died, like, obviously that wouldn't go well with her, and maybe she wanted to be one of these maidens with Professor Fosca, but it didn't work out because she's not like the daughter of some influential person like all of the other maidens, so there's like that rejection there, and maybe that's why she starts killing the maidens. I don't know. I don't have like the details of it ironed out, but that is my theory. And we will see how it plays out and if I'm correct. Wow, this update went way longer than I meant for it to. But yeah, I don't have much left. I'm about, I would say, 60 something percent through, and I still have 3 parts left. Let's see how long part 4 is. Maybe. Come on. Where's the end? Okay, part 4 seems very long. Yeah, so part 4 is this whole chunk. So I will read that and get back to you, hopefully tonight, because I do really want to pick this up and see where it goes, but I'm going to go do dishes, and then I'm going to eat dinner, and then I guess I will pick this up and get more reading done. So I will see you when I have another update. Okay, friends, ignore my current appearance, but it is literally 30 degrees outside and very chilly in the house, so that is why I'm snuggled in the way I am. I did read a lot before bed last night. It was rainy, there was thunder going on, it was lovely ambiance, and I read most of part 4, and then I finished up the last couple of chapters this morning. And this is where we've kind of reached like a height of tension. So what what has happened in this part? We had a group therapy session with the Maidens where it was revealed that Zoe actually is one of the Maidens. She hasn't been participating in anything that they've been doing all book, but um, the other Maidens and Edward kind of get a kick out of the fact that Zoe hadn't revealed that to Mariana, and Mariana's like obviously embarrassed to not know that information. So that throws a little wrench into things. Mariana doesn't confront Zoe after this. She actually hasn't talked to Zoe in a while. She's been doing a bunch of other things and kind of like not paying attention to her niece at all. We also went back to London for a little bit so that she could consult some other people, namely Mariana's own like therapist and also someone she knew when she was training to be a therapist. And there was like a little Easter egg about a woman who killed her husband and then stopped speaking, and I'm like, is that not the plot of Alex Michaelides' first novel, The Silent Patient? And it is because Theo, the one person that she talks to in this book, is actually the main character of that. So like, it was an interesting little Easter egg. I guess this is technically a prequel then, because in this they talk about how this woman killed her husband and stopped speaking, and she's like, oh, maybe you should go over there and get her to start talking again. And he's like, oh, maybe I will, haha. And I think that's the plot of The Silent Patient, so interesting. I will have to pick that one up at some point, I suppose. I hear that that's his best one. So, anyway, that happens. Those characters really just seem thrown in there for someone Mariana can talk to, but nothing really comes of those conversations. Like, Mariana really draws conclusions, but they're not, like, anything new, I don't think. At least from what I've been drawing, the conclusions I've been drawing, anyway. Then, there's another murder. Another one of the maidens has been murdered, and Mariana is told this by like this woman who cleans a bunch of like the rooms in the house. I don't know if I've mentioned her before. She's kind of weird. They're all kind of weird characters. Um, but Mariana receives this postcard that all of the other victims had also received at some point that has like a quote from an ancient Greek play on it, like different plays, and they all have like different quotes about death and sacrifice and things like that. And so she's like convinced that she's next, and so she confronts Fosca, and she actually asks him what the postcard says, which that's something that stands out as strange to me. Our main character is Greek. She was born and raised in Athens, and yet, like 4 or 5 times throughout the course of this novel, she has gone to other people to have them translate something that's written in Greek for her. Granted, they are quotes from like Greek plays, so maybe they're like an older version of Greek than like modern stuff. So maybe that is like an explanation for it, but it does just seem kind of weird to me that she is Greek and yet she's not able to translate any bit. Like she doesn't even pick up certain words throughout, like, oh, I recognize this as similar to the modern Greek word, but I don't get what the rest of it says. Like, no, like she doesn't understand any of what it's saying and has to get translated, which is made doubly weird because she studied the classics at this college. Like that was her major, was studying the classics, so she probably studied a few of these plays when she was in school. So I don't know. That part of it is just so strange to me. Um, there's also this other guy that I don't know if I've told you about. His name is Henry, and he is one of her, uh, whatchamacallit. She's his therapist. I don't know what the other word would be. Patient, I guess. She's a group therapist, and he's part of one of the groups that she runs, and he's like obsessed with her and very mentally unstable to the point that he has physically harmed himself to get the emotional response he wants out of her. And he's done this multiple times, and she just does not do anything about it. And at this point, he shows up in Cambridge, having like stalked her there, and is like, I'm going to kill myself in front of you, and is only like very narrowly stopped from doing so by someone else coming onto the scene. And she's like, every time he like leaves, she completely forgets about him. Like, that's insane. Uh, so yeah, anyway, when she finds this postcard, she confronts Fosco and she ends up beating him up. And then they go and talk, and she finally tells the like chief inspector of this case, like, this is what I think happened. In front of Fosca, she like explains how she thinks he killed them all and all of that fun stuff. And then the inspector is like, you are clearly mentally ill. I am going to be gentle about this but firm and say that if I catch you interfering in this case again, I'm going to have you arrested, go back to London, and talk to your therapist. And that's where we leave off of this part. Now, parts 5 and 6 are quite short. It's literally just this last little bit. So I think I'm going to just read both of those and then come back to you, and not like come back to you at the end of part 5. That will almost positively be at the end of the day, though, because I have to get ready for work in an hour, and I'm freezing, I am in pain, I am tired, so I just want to, like, turn on some YouTube and do something mindless for the next hour, and I will pick this up tonight when I am hopefully feeling a little bit better, and then finish it up and come talk to you about it, so I will see you then. Okay, so I lied to you. I did end up reading part 5 of The Maidens before getting ready for work, and I'm gonna update you here now before I have to leave. So, part 5, like I said, very short. Basically, Mariana confronts Zoe about this claim that she actually is one of the maidens, and Zoe's like, well, I only went the one time, and she describes this, like, initiation ritual that freaked her out, and that's why she never went back. And like, they basically went into the woods, and there was this like ritualistic death. She was blindfolded, there was a dagger put to her throat, and then an orgy, maybe? I don't know, that part is unclear. But she's like, I bet that dagger is what Fosca used to kill those girls. And Mariana's like, wait, I thought you thought he was innocent. And she's like, no, like, I've changed my mind. Like, I fully believe this man is the killer again. And I'm like, suspicious. And Mariana's like, great, I'm glad you came to your senses. Let's go find this dagger. And then they go to they go to Zoe's room. And she's like, let me shower real quick because I feel gross or something like that. I don't know. So Mariana does a little bit of snooping. Oh, supposedly Zoe has also received one of these postcards, but we don't find out what the translation of that one is. It's got like the same vibes as the other creepy postcards though. So while Zoe's in the shower, Mariana's snooping around, and in Zoe's plush zebra that she has, that has been made a focal point of a couple of scenes now whenever we're in Zoe's room, some of the stitches are loose and there's paper in there. So Mariana pulls it out and reads it, and it's a letter, and it is a continuation of all of the like first person point of view chapters that we've been getting. So the whole time these like the POV things, they have just been this letter written to Zoe, and it is signed X. It does not have like a name on it. Now, Mariana thinks that it's from Edward Fosca, the professor. I noticed the word premonition used in it, and I'm like, you know who uses the word premonition? Oh, not Henry. Fred, that's his name. Fred, the guy who's like, oh, I had a premonition, Mariana, that I would ask you to marry me and you'd say yes. So I'm like, is Fred involved in this? Like, what is going on? And then when they're leaving, Mariana even thinks that she like sees Fred at the corner of her eye, and then she turns and no one's there. So I'm like, is Fred involved? Like, what is going on? But they head down the river to this point in the woods where this ceremony thing took place. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze. Oh god. I'm trying to get this done quick because I have to go to work soon. But they find this knife where Zoe remembered Fosca putting it after the ceremony, and it is in fact rusty with blood, and then um, they end up discussing this letter because Mariana is concerned for Zoe, and Zoe obviously freaks out, and she's like, Fosca didn't write that letter to me. You know who did? Sebastian, Mariana's dead husband. What did I tell you? I Well, we still have not been confirmed that Zoe is the killer, but I feel like it's pretty much confirmed that Zoe is the killer, and there was this weird stuff happening with Sebastian and her, called that, and then, yeah, I don't know, we still have not gotten the details, the, like, final conclusion, and I am so mad that I have to go to work, because there's literally less than 20 pages left, but genuinely, if I don't leave for work within the next like 2 minutes, I will be late. So I have to leave for work. But oh my god. Ah, I'm gonna go to work. I get out at 5. When I get home, I'm gonna shower, have dinner. Then, actually, maybe while like dinner's cooking, I will finish this book. And then I will come back and update you and finish this whole thing out with my final thoughts on this book. Crazy. I am so shocked by this reading experience, but we will talk about that later. I gotta go now. I'll see you in a bit. Okay, friends, it is 6:30 p.m. and I have finished reading The Maidens. This was kind of a wild book. It got so weird at the end. Basically, Mariana has had this truth revealed to her, and essentially, Sebastian was a terrible person and was grooming Zoe this entire time, and they'd been sleeping together since the time that she was 15 years old, and he actually killed Mariana's father because he had found him and Zoe together and rightfully started freaking out. Crazy. And then that was when Sebastian like really learned just how much money Mariana inherited from her father and was like, Zoe, we gotta kill her so that we get all that money and there's nothing in the way of us like really being together anymore. So he was kind of like the mastermind behind everything and was the one who came up with this plan for Zoe to kill these girls as a way to frame the professor and get Mariana involved in the situation because obviously she's going to come to her niece's aid, and uh, then she was supposed to kill Mariana, and Fosca would have taken the blame for that. But then Sebastian ended up dying on this island, and for a whole year, Zoe was like, I don't know what to do anymore. And she was like, you know what I need to do is complete Sebastian's plan, even if it won't bring us back together. Like, I need to carry out his wishes. And that's why she started killing, because this was the plan all along. Absolutely wild. So she, like, is about to kill Mariana at one point, and Mariana, like, struggles free. The knife goes flying. And then Fred shows up, assuming he had another premonition. I don't think it said. But he ends up getting stabbed, and that is enough of a distraction on Zoe's part for Mariana to get a big rock and hit her over the head with it, and she falls onto the knife, and it's like in Zoe's chest. She'd just been hit with a giant rock. Fred is on the ground bleeding to death, and so the cops come. Loud car. Neither of them end up dying. Fred is able to recover as well as someone can when they've been stabbed in the back, and Mariana visits him, and he's obviously very happy about that, and she's like, you know, maybe things are crazy and premonitions are real, and just because it was a weird situation, like, you know what, maybe I gotta be a little bit more loose with things. I don't know. She's like learning to live again, I guess. But then Zoe ends up having a lot of trauma. Obviously, she was groomed since a very young age and went through all of these traumatic incidents. She ended up killing on someone's behalf and then experienced like a physical trauma with getting stabbed and hit in the head with a giant rock. So she is very mentally unwell. She ends up becoming a patient of Theo, the guy who Mariana talks to at one point, and he's the main character of the silent patient. So Zoe ends up being one of his patients, along with that woman who doesn't talk anymore. And he's like, I really think it would be good for the both of you to even just meet. I know you don't have to like forgive her for anything, but you should remember that she was a victim too, and like all this stuff. And the book ends with Mariana going to this place, and it like cuts as she's like opening the door to this place where Zoe is. So I actually enjoyed this, and I didn't expect to. It wasn't perfect by any means. There were definitely some weird things. I feel like some of the characters. Oh, I will say, another thing that happened that we're told is that Fosca does get fired because he was sleeping with all of those girls. So he wasn't innocent in all this. He just wasn't killing them. Uh, but yeah. Uh, I feel like some of the character work was a little bit wonky, and the fact that a woman born and raised in Greece had to go to all of these other people for translations of Greek, that felt a bit strange, and I wish they had either not done that or just like given an explanation for why she needed someone else to translate her native language to her. There were a few chapters that I feel like didn't really do anything, like those chapters where she goes back to London and talks to her therapist and also Theo, which I get why Theo is there, because he does come back at the end as Zoe's therapist. And the chapter before, the first time she meets Theo, is her talking to her therapist, and she's the one who is like, oh, you should talk to Theo. But I feel like that could have been streamlined a little bit more. But there's not a ton else. I I had a good time with this, which I really wasn't expecting to. Maybe thrillers aren't all terrible. Although I do feel like this was more of a mystery than a thriller. In my opinion, it did get thrillery towards the end, but for the most part, it was just kind of a mystery to me. But yeah, definitely redeemed from the awfulness that was the first book club pick. So I'm glad we had, at least in my opinion, a good second one. And I'm excited to pick up his other books. Like I showed you earlier, I did buy a copy of The Fury, so I hope I can pick that up somewhat soon. I don't know. I have absolutely no idea when I would be able to. Maybe I will check out The Silent Patient from the library and read that one too, since, as I've heard, it is his best one. But for now, we have come to this vlog. If you've enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel for more content, and that way I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.